Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 3 of Hell Hath No Fury. I'm your host, Lindsay.
And I'm your host, Faye. Hello.
Hello. Hope everyone's doing really, really well. Thanks for all the engagement for the last 2 episodes. It's been fun watching everybody get involved.
Yes.
Um, we've chosen, or rather, I've chosen a topic this week that I've already said to Faye off camera that I'm probably just going to freeball and rant about. So if I sound more unhinged than normal, that's why.
She said it here first. You've had been warned.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get my little Scottish rage on the go. Um, but we are going to be, I don't really know how to phrase it. We're going to be talking about is it tour labeling or tour advertisement, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So my particular bugbear, and I can only talk from like a UK standpoint. I am aware that this happens across the board, Europe, America, Australia, Canada, and things like that. Um, but when tours are advertised as UK tour and it's one tour date in London and then another two random dates in England and nothing else, it irritates me because that's not the UK. That's not even an English tour because England is massive. Okay. I'm not even going to get onto the Scottish side of things first, but England is a massive country, it's a massive place. And a tour date in London and then another random two dates, basically in the south of England. Let's face it, for the most part, that's not a UK tour. The UK is England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. That's the UK. So if you're going to be coining something as a UK tour, have it as a UK tour.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant finished for now.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, really. I mean, as a metal fan, it's disappointing because they'll be like, "Oh, we're going to announce our UK tour dates," and you think yes, and then you see it's like Manchester, London. You think, "Fuck, I don't live in either of those places," and the trains are fucking obscenely expensive. It's
Yep.
like, right, well, I'm gonna have to use my life savings to see this concert.
Yeah.
It is frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm aware that this happens across the board. Like when bands announce a European tour, for example, and it's like
Mm.
5 countries in Europe, that's not a European tour either. Or when they announce like a big North American tour and they only hit two dates in Canada or one particular coast of America.
Mm.
No.
It is like what's it called? It's like prick teasing, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
it
is
really is. Yeah.
because especially in like the US, that's an enormous country, right?
Yeah.
So you have to see like if you live in Seattle and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to Florida." That's you ain't got a chance, have you? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, we will get on to the reasons why bands do this. There is a
Mm-hmm.
reason. There are many reasons for it, but as purely as a fan, it's always that kind of like ugh, feeling. It's like not again. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can only really talk about it from a fan point of view. I mean, I do have a little bit of insight into the industry, but you'll have a lot more than I do because you work in PR and I don't. But for example, there was a tour that was announced recently. I think it was, who was it? It was Bleeding Through and Darkest Hour, I think.
mm,
And they announced like their UK European tour, and it was one date in London, one in Bristol, and I think one in Leeds. Now, Leeds is the closest place to where I am, and that is still a 5 hour car journey, which I know for our US audiences, 5 hour car journey doesn't sound like much. But as a little islander in the UK, that's a huge deal.
mm,
And when you factor in public transport, it's usually a lot longer than that as well, and very expensive, like you said.
yeah,
Now, I get that technically speaking, these bands are coming to the UK because they are on UK soil, therefore they can label it as UK. I understand that. But that's like saying, well, technically we're playing on planet Earth, so
they
screw
should
you
just call it
guys.
Earth Tour
I
or
know.
or Northern Hemisphere Tour, and then they could literally just go to like Austria and Sweden, and that's done. Like that's the Northern Hemisphere covered.
Exactly. Now, I don't mind, to be honest with you, if they want to lump the UK dates, regardless of how many they are, into a European tour and coin it as European. That's fine. That's not a political thing either, because regardless of where the political issues are with the European Union and the UK, we are still on the European continent. We are still part of that continent. Therefore, technically speaking, we could still be classed as an EU tour. That's fine. I understand that. But when it comes to UK, no, you've missed out Scotland. You've missed out the bulk of England. You've missed out Wales. You've missed out Northern Ireland. And it's getting really annoying because I start getting hyped up. I'm on a rant now, guys. I'm sorry. I start getting hyped up about these tours. I'm like, yes, I've always wanted to see this band. 5-hour journey away from me. No, that's not feasible. It's like a 10-hour round trip.
Yeah.
And it's just not feasible. So stop it. Stop doing that.
Stop pissing off the Scottish people because they get really angry.
Yeah, but so do the Welsh, so do the Irish, and so do a lot of English people. Because I put up a post about this on social media not that long ago, actually, because I rage about this periodically. And the amount of people that have been commenting from various corners of the planet, not just the UK, but various corners of the planet, a lot of the Australians and the Canadians seem to have these grievances as well, especially Australia, because let's face it, they get fuck all for the most part.
I mean, I've seen a trend recently. Bands will tend to do like an Asian tour, and they kind of like bring Australia into that, which is great because then you sort of covered that corner of the world, isn't it? But it's not often bands do that. And it's typically bigger bands because, you know, that's a long way to travel. And one of the reasons that I'm going to talk about why bands have those restrictions is visas, right?
Yeah.
It's all the fucking paperwork. I bet you it's the money and then all the paperwork, right? The visas and all like the medical shit and like insurance and oh my gosh. And every country has its own, so there's not just like one visa you can get that just allows you entrance, like especially with Brexit. Do you know what I mean? If you're coming from outside the UK and want a UK tour, they might say to you, all right, you can come, you've got 3 weeks and then you have to leave again. Or you have 1 week, you have to leave again, depending where you're coming from. So then they have to squeeze all these shows in. And then it also has to fit with the venues availability. It's such a fucking puzzle.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, the logistics of it must be an absolute nightmare. And I get that there's going to be a lot of cost involved, a lot of, geography involved and organization. And let's face it, things are getting a lot more expensive now. And I get that it's not cost effective a lot of the time for these bands to go all over the place. I understand that. Just coin it as something else.
Yeah. I mean, just give your tour a name and then just put the dates and countries where you're going. Don't be like, it's a European tour or a UK tour. Just be like, we're going on tour. It's called this. This is where we're playing. Come see us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then I think that, people are still going to get disappointed, but then you're not promising something. You're not sort of prick teasing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw recently, I think it was at the tail end of last year. I can't remember. It was a thrash band, but I can't remember for the life of me who they were. They actually organized a full-on Canadian tour. So this tour, it had something like 8 or 9 dates in it, and it was purely Canada. And I think, if bands have the resources and the money to do things like that, they will do it from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Don't say, oh, this is a European tour, this is a UK tour. Just say tour, name of the tour, list of countries and dates. That'd be cool.
This is the thing. And then on top of all the stuff I just mentioned, they have to also factor in, because like everything in this world, it's all about money, right? Where are we going to earn the most money? Where are we going to get the most ticket sales? In Europe, they're always going to play Germany because there's a big metal scene there. They're always going to play France. It's got a big metal scene. They're probably always going to play Poland.
Yeah.
That's got a big metal scene. Maybe Scandinavia if they have time for it because there's a big metal scene. Maybe one Scandinavian country. But yeah, it's it's disappointing sometimes, but there's so many factors in it. And obviously the smaller the band, the less of an audience they have. So they have to just hit those big countries where they know they're going to get some ticket sales.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Or jump onto a festival bill.
Absolutely. And that's, extreme festivals are invaluable to the extreme metal scene because you're getting a lot of value for money. You're going to see a lot of bands at once that you're maybe gonna have to travel like 1,000 miles to see otherwise.
Yeah,
So yeah, I love getting my bands on festival lineups
yeah,
or on tours with bigger bands that are going to different countries because like that's the jackpot, really.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have caught so many extreme metal bands that I never would have had the opportunity to see because of festivals that I've
Mm,
been to, or because they've jumped onto a tour as, even an opening act, not like
mm,
direct support, but like an opening act for a
yeah.
bigger band. That's how I managed to see Orbit Culture, for example, for the first time.
Mm,
They were supporting other bands and stuff.
yeah.
But no, I do. I mean, I'm not talking about it from like I'm Scottish, therefore I'm bitter. I mean, I am Scottish and I am very bitter, but that's just generally speaking. Um, I'm not particularly bothered if bands decide not to come up here, and I know this is probably going to be a bit of a controversial take. It's sod's law. If they decide to come up here, fine. If they decide not to come up here because of money, logistics, time, or whatever, so be it.
Mm,
There's going to be factors out with their control.
yeah.
So I'm not talking about it from, come to Scotland because meh or anything like that. It's just, you get people's hopes up, you get your fans' hopes up. And I'm not saying that this is the band's fault, because it's not the band's fault.
Mm,
Um, but you get your fans' hopes up, say, oh yes, they're coming to the UK, and they're not. They're going to London.
yeah.
And that's where the money is. And I get that, but just label it as something else, just the name of the actual tour and a list of dates and locations. And
Mm,
that's it. That way you lessen the disappointment, in my very humble opinion.
yeah. That's why I like arrangements like Damnation Festival. I went there
Yeah.
last year. It's based in Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's some really big bands there as well. There was a really good
Mm-hmm.
mixture of like underground and big bands and just a whole mixture of stuff. And it's the ticket was only about 70 quid actually
Yeah.
the whole day. And it's a really cool little festival. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I stuff like that is great because it's just a whole mixture and these, smaller bands are getting some really big audiences. You got your bigger bands coming to. I mean, it was previously held in Leeds, but now they moved it to Manchester for a bigger venue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why those kind of arrangements are really great.
It's just like Incineration Fest, which at the time of recording was just yesterday.
Yeah,
You had bands like Black Braid, you had I think Lamp of Murmur were there, and
yeah,
various other underground bands and stuff. When it comes to like one-off day festivals or even just like a very small extreme metal festival, that is definitely an opportune moment for these
mm,
extreme metal bands, especially if they're not getting the opportunity or have the resources to do a full-on tour. That I can understand. Absolutely. And it's advertised correctly. It's the advertisement side of things
mm,
that really bugs me.
yeah. I mean, I remember my band Overthrow. They're my personal
Mm-hmm.
little project that I have going, and they'd be yeah. I wanted to get them on some just for some exposure because they're a small band. Like they haven't got budget to be going on their own tours and stuff.
Yeah.
And I got them opening in Camden for um Frozen Soul.
Yeah.
Um which are they're getting bigger now, Frozen Soul, right?
Yeah. I love
Um
Frozen Soul.
Me too. They're nice people as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about it's just so many factors. It's like one big puzzle. And honestly, and like a lot of the summer shows are obviously based around the big festivals, right? Like Hellfest,
Yeah.
Wacken, that kind of thing. Um, and obviously they're going to set their priorities where they're going to make their most money. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
business at the end of the day. As much as it is about passion and art and expression, it's still a business. It's still their job.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of the day, it's about profits and loss, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know that it is possible for, I mean, it's not set in stone, but it is possible for the bigger bands to go out their way for the most part. For example, when Machine Head were on their European festival run, I think it was just last year, they went out their way to come up to Scotland and do a random show in Scotland before they hit the European circuit. And I think bands, PR labels or whatever should be making the move to do that if the resources allow. I think some of the time the resources will allow, they're just choosing not to for whatever reason. It's a difficult argument because I'm just ranting about it now, but it is a difficult argument to make because I'm not bitter. I understand the logistics behind it and, you know, all the fire hoops that people have to jump through behind the scenes to make these things work and then make sure it's cost effective at the end of it. Absolutely. Just advertise it as something else. Please. Whoever's listening to this, please. It's not just me.
And I feel like if it was up to the bands, they'd tour way more, or way more places. Like even though it's hard being away from home, I feel like they would, you know, they want to reach as many fans as they can, right? So I guess if it was up to them purely, it would be a much broader spectrum of shows.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that the bands have their hands tied. I get that. They basically just get told where to go. I get that. And I think, you know, if it was up to the bands, I think they would play a lot more smaller, more intimate shows as well. Instead of like doing one big show in an area, you know, they'll hit various little smaller venues and stuff to try and get as many people in as possible. But yeah, it annoys me. If you can't already tell, it annoys me.
It is annoying and it is frustrating. You know, like we're here in Europe and then we see all these amazing tours in America and I'm like, I'm so jealous.
I know.
Why can't they bring that lineup over here? But there's obviously some good reason for it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to be honest with you, I think, you know, our North American friends have a harder time than we do, to be honest, because like you said at the beginning of this episode, that land mass area, massive. You know, the UK is a tiny speck compared to that. So, you know, it takes us what, 8-9 hours to drive without any breaks from one end of the country to the other. Whereas in America, you could drive that amount of time and you're still in the same state.
Yeah.
You know, so they definitely have a harder time because, you know, North American tour, but it's all down one side of the coast. And then the other side, well, you know, I've got like a 3-day journey to try and get to that.
Yeah.
You know, so I am aware that I am in a very good place of privilege. I get that. I have just privilege checked myself. So don't come at me.
No comments.
I understand that. It's just the advertisement side of things. It just really annoys me.
Yeah. And what, like, because I work for Redefining Darkness, and when we do US tours, we will say like a West Coast tour or an East Coast tour, or, you know, and then the dates. So we won't put like an American tour or anything like that because that's really misleading. So it'll be like Oxygen Destroyer, East Coast tour, and then we put all the dates and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because then it's not like US tour, but we're only playing one coast. Fuck you all. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then people can plan it better, you know? I think it's just more accessible that way. Yeah, I think another important factor is its PR strategy. So whatever fits in with your PR campaign. If your PR person's like, well, the tour, the vibe of the album, whatever it is, we think it's gonna do better in this country or these countries, then yeah. Again, I feel like bands are quite powerless.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, they get told where to go. I don't think they get to decide where they're going. Unless they're millionaires and they're unsigned and then they can just do whatever they want.
Or they're Metallica and then they can just basically play wherever they want and people are gonna come. So
yeah.
They could play in like the middle of the Sahara and they'd sell out, right? So
can you imagine a show in the middle of the Sahara? How problematic would that be for the kit?
Imagine the sweat.
No. I'd rather not. Gigs get sweaty enough as it is, but in the middle of a desert, no.
I can't. I would die. I genuinely
Yeah,
think I'd die. My skin isn't. I can't even. I get sunburned in Denmark. I can't even imagine it.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't survive either, so I would not go to that show. As cool as that might be, I would not survive, and it's not worth it. So
Absolutely not. But yeah,
not worth it.
what does everyone listening think? Like, what are your opinions? I mean, I see a lot of people on social media like complaining about this. They're also frustrated. Um, but I think sometimes it gets their anger is sort of aimed at the bands, and it's not the
Yeah.
bands. It's not their choice. So be angry at the PR people instead.
Yes, it's all the background people that you don't see. It's
Yeah.
people like Faye. It's your fault.
Yes. DM me instead, and I will ignore you instead of the bands.
The next
Absolutely.
section, the last section of our episode, is our album of the week. And what is your album of the week this week, Faye?
My album of the week is the new album from Allegiant, which is called The Ossuary Lens. It's so good. I mean, in my books, Allegiant can do no wrong. They're one of my favorite bands. I know I'm biased, but they are so just technically amazing and super talented. Like I've a lot of metal bands are, but there's just something special about them. They're just so creative in their writing and they're just their ability to create something totally unique that I've never heard before. So
Yeah.
I love them, and the new album is the same. Like I heard it
Yes.
immediately and thought, yeah, this is probably going to be my favorite album all year. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've been listening to. That is my album of the week.
That is a fantastic album. I loved their last one, Damn Them. That was a
Oh,
fantastic record.
I
That was
love
your
it.
record of the year that year, was it not?
It was, and
Yeah.
it's my one of my records of all time. It's so good.
Yeah. And I just love this one. I was like, there's no way they're going to be able to hit the same level as Damn Them, because that was
Mm.
just a spectacular album. But this one, oh, it's so good.
It's really good. Yeah.
It's so good. Well, my album of the week this week is Hellripper, Warlocks Grim and Withered Hags.
Nice.
I love it. Now, black and speed metal, it's insane, it's fast, but I consider it as easy listening. I really do. I just find it such an enjoyable. All of Hellripper's work is just
Mm.
fantastic. Black and speed metal. It's furious. It's intense. The guitars are incredible, but I just find it so fun and enjoyable. And every single time I listen to Hellripper, I'm in a better mood, you
Yeah.
know. And it's just, I love the fact that there's a lot of like Scottish lore and myths and stuff in his work, especially with this particular album, which I'm really into as well.
Mm.
And black and speed metal, you can't go wrong with that. It's just James just does it so well. He's fantastic, and this was in my top 10 of 2023, and I still love it, and the artwork is absolutely beautiful as well.
Yeah, like he really goes all in on his lore and like the themes of each album and the artwork and everything. It's really well crafted, and he's also a very lovely man.
Yes, he is. I've had the opportunity to speak to him before, and he's so humble, and he's just so
Yeah,
lovely. Such a nice guy.
I met
Lovely
him
guy.
once and I went in for a hug and I was like, because he's not awkward, but he's just a very quiet. Like on stage, he's like mad and energetic, but just in person, he's just like, oh, hi. And I was like,
Yeah.
hello.
I know, it's like I just want to put you in my pocket.
Yeah, like on stage, you're almost scary, but like here, he's just like, hello, the merch stand, like, hi. So
Yeah,
sweet.
it's brilliant.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that
extremely
difference.
talented. Very nice.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thick music.
Well, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for joining in and tuning in. And we
Yeah,
expect to see lots of really cool comments about the topic this week.
absolutely. Chime in, and we're always getting involved in the comments, so let us know what you think.
Absolutely. And if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about, let us know. We're always looking for new ideas. We've got a list that we are going to get through. But if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about specifically, just let us know.
Yeah, DM us on our Instagram profile. I'll check those, and or in the comments, whatever. We'll have a look and we'll see what we can do.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.